Yo, I'm Bob. Totally blind since birth into Star Wars, talking about Season 2, Episode 6 of The Bad Batch on Disneyplus. This one's called Tribe, 22nd episode of the show overall. Spoilers ahead, of course. Watch the episode before listening to my thoughts, jumping right in. And you were warned. So, thinking back to the 5th season of the Clone Wars, when watching the Gathering arc, what I like to call the Gathering arc for the first time, I really had a good time with that group of young Jedi. It was one of my favorite arcs in the Clone Wars, getting to see the kids exploring Ilum, obtaining their saber crystals, going up against Hondo and Grievous. I love that whole group. I didn't expect to enjoy that arc as much as I actually did. And of course, when the episodes were over, I wondered what in the heck's going to happen to these kids during Order 66? How many of them are going to make it out on the other side? So awesome to know that Gunji's okay. We, of course, found that out in one of the trailers for Bad Batch Season 2. I hope some of the others, if not all of the others, fared just as well. Not really sure, though, because when it comes to younglings in Star Wars, man, this franchise does not pull its punches, so who knows. But I liked seeing Gunji in this episode. I really loved the scenes involving Vanguard access. They reminded me of The Clash from Shadow of the Sith. If you guys haven't read that novel yet, that's a pretty cool and a very thrilling Star Wars read. We get to see a group of droid pirates. And yes, they are exactly like they sound. But this is a really interesting group of droids, too. We see them torturing this Wookiee with electro staves. We don't know who's wanting to purchase Gunji. Hopefully we'll find that out in a future Star Wars event. Hopefully in television, or else I'll have to read about it in some article pertaining to comic books. But yeah, it was a really interesting action scene there. I liked seeing Gunji being reassured when everyone got to the Marauder after the action scene. They get him away. Hopefully we'll be seeing these droids again. But yeah, they let him know that not all clones followed Order 66. There were some that didn't carry out the order. One of the things I really enjoyed about the episode was seeing Kashyyyk. We would have gotten Kashyyyk in the Clone Wars. I do remember during one of the panels where Dave was talking about an arc that they'd wanted to do was with Kashyyyk. We would have gotten to see Yoda and his good relations with the Wookiees, as he says, being explored. So I kind of got what I wanted, Kashyyyk in an animated format. Kashyyyk is a planet that's very near and dear to my heart because it was one of the first planets that I got to explore, so to speak, in the old Star Wars Expanded Universe or Star Wars Legends. I first read about that world in Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn back in the day. I mean, there was an older generation of Star Wars fans that got to explore it during the Star Wars Holiday Special. But for me, I got to read about it first. And I really enjoy this world. It was wonderful to see it in animation. Maybe we'll get to see it in live action again at some point. We got to see just a taste of it in Revenge of the Sith. That's one of my favorite scenes. I've always been fascinated with the Wookiee homeworld for some reason. It's one of my favorite locations. I wish I could tell you why. I don't know myself. I just really like that world. So we get to see the Trandoshans in this episode. They're hunting Gunji. They're promised 100 Wookiee pelts. That made me think of the prize pelt, the Tale of Bosk from the old Legends timeline, in which we get to see a bit of enmity explored between the Trandoshans and the Wookiees. Of course, you can read about that in comics, probably see it in video games, things like that. But I love that, that's brought up here as well. We got to see it in the Clone Wars as well, in Padawan Lost and Wookiee Hunt, a couple of my favorite episodes in which we get to see Trandoshans going after a certain familiar Wookiee face. So we find out that the Imperials are working with the Trandoshans. They're subjugating Kashyyyk to deforestation. I love the the repurposed armored assault tanks. They call them incinerator tanks now, and they've got flamethrowers. I really like flamethrowers. I don't know why, but they're one of my favorite weapons in Star Wars. Not that I should be trusted with a flamethrower at any point in my own life, but I just like that weapon. It's pretty cool. Fantastic voice work by Michelle Ang as Omega. I really enjoyed Shelby Young doing the voice of the elder Wookiee Yana. You had Jonathan Lipow as Gunji. It was quite a phenomenal episode. Of course, the action scenes go without saying there at the end of the episode. Also fun to see the Kenrath in action. They seem like a really interesting breed of spider. And I like how the Wookiees used the planet around them, communing with the trees in order to beat back the combined forces of the Empire and the Trandoshans. I still can't get over seeing clone troopers going up against species like Wookiees, people that they were fighting for during the Clone Wars. It is a bit disheartening, a bit disconcerting, as it should be. It was a really cool fight scene there toward the end of the episode. Let's see here.
Pause video recording button to activate. Press space. Pause video record.
So, a Wookiee wielding a lightsaber, I can't help but think of Chewbacca's nephew Lobaka in the old Legends timeline. I absolutely love the concept of a Wookiee being a Jedi. So I think that's another reason why I like the character of Gunji so much. Reminds me of the Young Jedi Knight series and how much I enjoyed having those read to me. You couldn't get those in audiobook format or Braille back in the day. So I think for me, the episode was quite an enjoyable one. And I guess next time we are going to be talking about the clone conspiracy. I am filming this video the day the two following episodes of Bad Batch aired. So I've seen them both. I can already tell you I had a blast with those. Cannot wait to get into clone conspiracy next time. May the Force be with you, and hear you then.